Hey, what's going on, guys? Vinnie Joe here from Creation Astronomy Now.com and Creationist Company, here with my brother Joe.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Creation Astronomy Now Podcast, episode number 14. In the last episode, we had an awesome interview with David Rees from David Rees Ministries. Be sure to check that one out if you have not seen it yet. In this episode, we're going to be talking all about exoplanets. So what are an exoplanet anyway? An exoplanet is a planet that is orbiting a different star. See, for a long time, I'm not exactly sure since when, but since, 2010 at least, probably before that, we've been able to detect whether stars had planets on them. At first we could only detect bigger planets, but now we've gotten to where we can use spacecraft like Kepler to detect different exoplanets, the small Earth size, and tell not only where they are, but what their orbit is like. So, a long time ago, we had a trip to NASA. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
It was quite a while ago. I don't remember how old I was, but I was pretty young. I still have some pictures of it, and Joe's looks a lot littler.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy that trip on account that everywhere you looked, there was all this evolution and life on Mars thing. They say we can find life in outer space, and it was mainly pointing to we can find life on Mars and go live there.
Yeah, there's a big hype on Mars. It's like I think that maybe what happened was that now scientists are deciding that maybe life can't be on Mars. They've realized that there's no life on Mars. So now instead they're searching for maybe there was life in the past on Mars. And so they're looking for evidence of that, but now they're looking to other planets. They want to try to prove Genesis wrong, so they're going to look at other planets to do that. So here are some 3 exoplanet examples. We have Glace 581. Glace 581 is the star. Glace 581G is the planet that they discovered in 2010. And it's Earth. I think it's like Earth mass, but unfortunately, it's unstable and has a no rotation orbit, which means that its orbit is more oval shaped. So here it's away out from the sun, and here it's closer to the sun than it's supposed to be.
And the next one is Glace 667 CC. Now the first C is an uppercase C, and the next C is a lowercase c.
I guess these exoplanets, I feel like they should give them some easier to pronounce names.
Like, this one's Jake, and this one's Jack, and this one's George, but no, they have to name them Glace 667cc.
Yeah, Glace 667cc, it's typical. They find one that, is in the habitable zone and say, yes, we found one! And then you find out a little while later, you say, oh, that one? Oh yeah, it says wrong composition. It doesn't have the essential ingredients that it needs. Mm-hmm. And then we've got the more recent one. Those were both in 2010. This one is from here recently. No, it was in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. It's actually one we reported on Creation Astronomy Now, our news blog. So you can check that out at creationastronomynow.com and check out our latest post, and you can find that one. But this one is Kepler 62e. Has wrong composition.
Too little iron and low mass, no calcium or sodium.
So let's talk about some of these. Well, actually, if I could try to remember the name of that one. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to write a report on it and put it on Creation Astronomy Now. It's actually a recent one, but it's Earth mass, but it's gassy. So we're finding out that not only can gas planets be near the sun, but they can also... they can also be smaller, Earth mass. Which actually, originally, scientists didn't think that, scientists said, oh, gas planets can't form close to the sun. And now that they, they were like, where, look, gas planets are near the sun. And, well, they must have moved closer and far out and then formed there and then started moving closer.
They have so many excuses.
But here's some essential conditions for life. This is what they're looking for on planets. So, first of all, we've got the Goldilocks zone. It's very scientific terms. The Goldilocks zone. Also
sits right there with Big Bang.
The Big Bang. Actually, in the debate, Bill Nye, the science guy, said he was talking about the Big Bang. He's like, they discovered that the universe was growing, which is not exactly what it was doing. It was the universe like spreading out, but he said that the stars were getting farther apart, which is actually the galaxies were getting farther apart. That's what he's discovered. But also later on, he said that Fred Hoyle said it was like there was this Big Bang. When what actually Fred Hoyle said, because he was a promoter of the steady state theory, and he was till his death in like before 2000. But he said life didn't begin in this Big Bang. He would be pretty hot if he found out that Bill Nye said that he came up with the term on purpose. He made up the term to make fun of it, but it stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the atheists and evolutionists just took it and ran with it. Said, hey, that's a good idea. Big Bang.
Originally it was called, I think it was once called the inflation theory. But, it has some rings, but I guess the Big Bang just stuck with it.
Yeah.
So, the Goldilocks zone is basically the habitable zone. And that's important because not only is it going to determine whether it's too cold or too warm for us, or not us, but life to be on it, but also it's going to determine whether a planet will have liquid water. It's too close, too hot, it dehydrates. Basically, we're talking about liquid water. If it's too far out, you've got ice. If it's too close, you got gas. You need liquid in between. So the Goldilocks zone is actually pretty slim. They like to expand it way out to show where it is and say, oh, Earth is like in the center, but the habitable zone is pretty far out. Actually, the habitable zone is pretty slim because there are a lot of conditions that go with the habitable zone. And also there is the stable orbit, as I mentioned. It doesn't matter if you're in the habitable zone, 2/4 of the time, because the other half of the time, then it's either too far out or too far in. And it has to have a rotation, day and night rotation thing.
Yeah. It also has the right has to have the right mass to hold an atmosphere.
Actually, that's another thing that they like talk about. There could have been life on Mars back a long time ago. Yeah, but how long ago? I mean, you're thinking, how Mars is not very big at all. It's like 1/4 of the size of Earth. So, even if it had an atmosphere to begin with, it does not have near the mass to hold it. So it would lose it pretty quickly. So I don't see how they could believe that life could start evolving there. But, they're NASA. And, they've also got have perfect composition, essential ingredients for life. Atmosphere must have the proper gases. You've got to have oxygen, and it also needs iron, calcium,
and sodium. Sodium,
yeah. So you can write that down: iron, calcium, and sodium. Put it in your list of useless knowledge. That's the stuff that a plant needs to have in its composition to have life. You take the example of Mars. You got the zone is too far out. During the daytime, it's generally a nice 75 degrees.
But at night, without the atmosphere, it gets so cold. It just loses the heat. Because there's no atmosphere, there's nothing to hold in the heat.
It's kind of like thinking, during the night, think how cold it gets. How more cold would it get if there was no atmosphere to keep in the heat? Now, Earth really has a perfect atmosphere. I don't see how they could think that Earth's atmosphere just happened by chance. Of course, when you believe in a view of naturalism, everything has to be chance, so...
Even life, and life is amazingly complex.
And also, as I mentioned earlier, Mars, the mass on Mars is just not big enough to hold an atmosphere. Actually, when I was first getting into astronomy, I read this book where they were talking about Mars, and one of the things they were talking about was they said that, one day we could go to Mars and we could set up an atmosphere on it. And, I didn't think about it at the time, but later on I realized that Mars doesn't have the mass to hold the atmosphere. They would have to keep making one, even if they could make an atmosphere that was perfect.
They have to make the atmosphere, then they have to make some mass, and then they have to, they'd have to make everything that the planet needs. But
what are they going to do? Make an extra planet? So what's your guys' idea? I mean,
they're going to have this big planet that's twice as big as Mars. It's going to be, just it's factory made, and that's we're going to have their factory for making the atmosphere on Mars.
you know, I don't mind if they maybe had a base on Mars, but you gotta be careful because it's like Biosphere 2. Life is more complex than they realize. They talk about Biosphere like it's a big, great scientific place, and they use it as a to teach evolutionary ideas that their very experiment proved to be wrong. They tried to have a self-contained world, but it just couldn't be self-contained. They had to get the microbiology from the outside and pump it in so that it could, sustain. And it didn't even sustain it. Like, pretty much all the animals that were inside it pretty much died.
Seemed like that was a pretty mean experiment.
Yeah, well. Anyway, also on Mars, I think water seems to be on it. Like I reported earlier, I wrote an article about it, I think. And, the Curiosity eventually went to Gale Crater. And it appears to be that Gale Crater could have once been a lake. I might have had liquid water in it at some point. But obviously the liquid water seems to be gone. Actually, a lot of scientists believe that there was once a global flood on Mars. They believe there was a global flood.
You've got to be kidding
on a planet where there was, there's no water now. And, there's no fossil record to say that, hey, there must have been the billions of dead things buried in rock layers, laid them waters all over the Earth.
She's like so crazy. Like I don't think that without
and then they talk
our
about,
global flood idea, I don't think they would have even thought of that.
I don't know. They kind of like to make fun of ours. Bill and I really like to make fun of ours.
Yeah. Ken Ham's flood. Ken Ham has his own flood. I never realized that before.
Wait, is it his Bible too? Like,
yeah, Ken Ham's theory, Ken Ham's Bible, Ken Ham's
book. Ken Ham wrote this book. It's called the Bible. Yeah. Actually, he referred to the Bible as the Bible translated into English. Like, what exactly did it say? The Bible as translated in English, how many times?
Yeah.
Once. I have some news for you, Bill Nye. It was a direct translation, and they translated it once. That is the King James, not the Living Bible or the NIV.
The Living Bible has lots of word cut it out of it. So you could say that about that, but the King James version has everything in it.
I think really the problem with the Living Bible is that they were trying to dumb it down, to kind of make it, simplify it a lot. Mm. And in doing that, they accidentally left out, I don't know if it was an accident, or if they just, said, hey, we could say this better, this they could say it this way, so we're gonna interpret it. See, they interpret it, they didn't just translate it.
Yeah, like one time, they actually referred to God as a fortune teller. Say the prophet heard from a fortune teller that he needs to go down to.
That's just another example of how they look at it and they're translating it and they're giving it their view. So they just like the suppress. It doesn't say they suppress the truth. They suppress the truth in unrighteousness. It says they hold the truth in unrighteousness. There's a big difference. And it's because of the belief factor. And we could go into that, but don't forget you're listening to the Creation Astronomy Now Podcast,
where we discuss astronomy.
So, you take Mars, you take all the exoplanets, and you see Earth is a special planet. Mm-hmm. And yet NASA continues to spend billions, like 60 billion on the Curiosity rover, and the billions that they're spending on running Kepler. I mean, Kepler recently shut down. Did you remember about that? Mm-hmm. We actually did a report back when it was still the Creation Astronomy Now show. And, it was, a flywheel-like device failed. So they said, they got it. I'm not sure, but they, tried to keep it running. I'm not sure I think they have it, Kepler's down and out now. They've shut it off. Mm-hmm. But, they're spending billions to get more things to search for exoplanets.
Yeah, well, you gotta remember, Vinny, they can change the world.
It's like,
just by finding exoplanets, you could.
You're spending billions. Mind. I mean, we're in like a budget crisis, and yet we're spending billions to find galaxies and stars and
what
exoplanets.
They need to do.
They're looking for life, and I'm not against exploration of space. I just don't think we should be spending billions of dollars on it.
I think there's life in China. Maybe they should send money there, and we'll pay off all our debts.
And the fact of the matter is, it's all about their denial of Genesis account. And as soon, scientists cannot accept Genesis because that calls for moral accountability. So they can't accept moral accountability, so you see they're searching for God elsewhere. They're searching for him in alien life. Because they know that that only an intelligent being can create life. As soon as they admit that there's not life in outer space, they suddenly have to admit that life could only start on Earth. As soon as they admit that life could only start on Earth, then they have to realize that life needs an intelligent being to create the Earth and to start life. And then there you have the whole thing that calls for moral accountability. NASA just, they know that an intelligent being created life, so they're looking for that intelligent being in outer space.
If they would just listen and believe the truth, dwell in the truth, they could save so much. But they're just atheists seem to have a lot of pride. They don't want to admit that, they can feel down deep inside. They can, when they're doing something wrong, they can feel that it's wrong because that is something that God put inside us. You know when you're doing something you're not supposed to because it's just there.
God put inside us. Well, not really necessarily God put inside us, but we have inside us.
Yes.
After that knowledge of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, we ate after Adam disobeyed. Then he knew what was right and wrong. Originally, God created right and wrong when He said, "Don't eat of this tree," and man disobeyed. And today, then atheist people either want to excuse themselves, or accuse others, or just say that it doesn't matter. Basically, the fact of the matter is they hate God. It's not just that they want to get rid of moral accountability. They want to do that too, but they're mad at God, and so they say He doesn't exist. That's almost what all atheists do. So, now it's time for some Creation Astronomy Now news. So, what's been going on besides the fact that this is take 2 of our podcast?
Yeah, we did one earlier. The thing was our camera. We had quite a few pictures on it, and that's why it's not a video of us talking. Instead, we had to do kind of audio this time because our camera it couldn't hold it all. So instead, we had to record this podcast. But next time, hopefully.
Yeah. Next time, hopefully, we'll have the video podcast back for you guys. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @CAstronomy News. That's at @CAstronomy News.
And like us on Facebook at Creation Astronomy Now.
I recently updated our Twitter profile and set it up so it would automatically post some stuff on there. So be sure to follow us there, and be sure to follow us subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/creationastronomy, where you can watch us. I know some of you might be watching us on YouTube, but for those of you who are not, be sure to do that. And be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. We recently trying to get some more subscribers onto that, so be sure to subscribe. We've got a lot of, that's our main outsource. I always say the newsletter is the best thing because, on the YouTube channel you get videos, on the Facebook channel then you might get some of our posts, but on the newsletter then you're certain to get the best of Creation Astronomy Now. So be sure to check that out. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
So till next time, take it easy. This is Vinnie and Joe signing out.
Bye.